The 2026 NBA Finals just had their first game, and the New York Knicks just walked into San Antonio and beat the Spurs 105-95, handing them a Game 1 loss that the franchise has never experienced before. Brunson dropped 30. Wemby got bottled up. A rookie made history, and the entire narrative around this finals just shifted from Spurs in 6 to the Knicks might actually win this thing. Today, I'm ranking the 5 biggest takeaways from Game 1 of the 2026 NBA Finals. Let's get into it. At number 5, Harper of the San Antonio Spurs. Harper scored 16 points off the bench in 22 minutes of Game 1. The Spurs lost. But Harper became the youngest player in NBA history to score double digits in a finals game. He's a rookie. He just turned 20 in March. He played his college basketball at Rutgers. And he was the most aggressive player on the Spurs in the first half of his finals debut, overpowering Brunson off the dribble and scoring 10 of his 16 in the opening quarter. The Spurs bench outside of Harper combined for just 4 points the entire night. If you're enjoying the breakdown, hit that like button. It really does help the channel. Harper is the silver lining for San Antonio from Game 1. He's also evidence that this Spurs roster is built for more than just one finals run. A 20-year-old rookie producing in the NBA Finals, and not even looking nervous about it, is the kind of moment that defines a franchise's future. The bad news for the Spurs is that they needed Harper to be 24 points instead of 16. The good news is that he's going to keep getting better. By Game 3 in Madison Square Garden, he could be the Spurs' second-best player. At number 4, the Spurs' secondary creator problem just got fully exposed. De'Aaron Fox finished Game 1 with 7 points. Stephon Castle had 17, solid, but he wasn't the late-game shot creator. Julian Champagnie hit some big threes for 16 points. Harper had his 16 off the bench. That sounds fine on paper. But none of those players took over the way the moment required. When Wemby was getting bottled up by the Knicks defense in the fourth quarter, the Spurs didn't have a plan B. Fox couldn't get going. Castle couldn't create his own shot in clutch. Champagnie is a catch-and-shoot wing. The Spurs needed someone else to step up and answer Brunson's 13-point fourth quarter. Nobody did. The Knicks have Brunson, Towns, Anunoby, Bridges, and Hart as scoring threats. The Spurs have Wemby and then a bunch of complementary pieces. That gap is going to define this series. The Knicks can win games when 1 or 2 of their guys have an off night. The Spurs can't. If Wemby goes 6 of 21 again in Game 2, San Antonio is going down 0-2 at home. At number 3, the Knicks figured out how to defend Victor Wembanyama. Wemby finished Game 1 with 26 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 blocks. The box score looks fine. The actual game film told a different story. He shot 6 of 21 from the field. He shot 2 of 9 from 3. He had 6 turnovers. His point total was propped up almost entirely by 12 of 13 shooting from the free throw line. The Knicks switched everything onto him. They put Towns on him at the elbow. They put Anunoby on him in the post. They put Hart on him in transition. Every time he caught the ball, there was a smaller, faster defender making him work for it. When Wemby tried to attack the rim, the Knicks collapsed and made him pass. When he tried to back down smaller defenders, they used their leverage to push him off his spot. When he tried to pull up from 3, his rhythm was already gone. This is not how Wemby has played all postseason. He came into the finals averaging over 27 points per game on 50+% shooting. Game 1 broke that. If the Knicks can replicate this defensive scheme in Game 2, the Spurs have a real problem, because Wemby being inefficient at the offensive end is the only way New York actually wins this series. At number 2, Brunson cemented his reputation as the best closer in the NBA. Brunson scored 30 points in Game 1. He shot 12 of 31 from the field. He took a knee from Harrison Barnes in the first quarter that sent him to the locker room. He tweaked his ankle in the second quarter. He spent most of the game in obvious physical pain. Then he scored 13 points in the fourth quarter alone. He hit a fall-away jumper. He hit a clutch corner 3. With 37 seconds left and the Knicks holding a 4-point lead, he hit a high-arching pull-up that gave New York a 6-point lead and effectively ended the game. Which of these takeaways do you think matters most for Game 2? Drop it in the comments. I want to see the disagreement. Brunson became just the second player in Knicks franchise history to score 30 or more points in a Game 1 of the NBA Finals. The first was Willis Reed. He also led a Knicks team that committed exactly 1 turnover in the entire second half. That's the kind of stat line that wins championships. This was a vintage Brunson performance. Compromised health, brutal shooting efficiency for 3 quarters, then the kind of fourth-quarter takeover that makes Madison Square Garden go absolutely insane. He's the reason the Knicks have a 12-game playoff winning streak. He's the reason they're 3 wins from their first championship since 1973. He didn't just save Game 1, he set the tone for the entire series. And at number 1, the Spurs' historical aura of invincibility just got broken. The San Antonio Spurs entered Game 1 having played in 6 previous NBA Finals as a franchise. They won Game 1 in every single one of them. They were 6-0 in Finals openers. The Knicks just made them 6-1. It gets bigger. The Spurs have now never trailed in a Finals series before Game 2 in franchise history. They went to the Finals in 1999, 2003, 2005, 2007, 2013, and 2014. They won 5 championships. They were never the team down 0-1 in a series after 1 game. That changed tonight. San Antonio was favored to win this series. They had home court, they had the reigning DPOY. They had a 14-point lead in the third quarter at 1 point. They had every advantage you can ask for in an NBA Finals Game 1. They lost. And not in a fluky way. They lost because the Knicks figured out how to defend Wemby, because Brunson took over in the fourth, and because the Spurs didn't have a secondary star who could match the moment. The Vegas line for Game 2 is going to shift. The narrative around this series is going to shift. Everyone who picked the Spurs in 6 needs to reconsider whether they actually had this matchup right. The Knicks aren't underdogs anymore. They're up 1-0 in the NBA Finals. 5 takeaways, 1 Game 1, and a Finals that just got a lot more interesting. Brunson is the closer. Wemby got exposed. The Spurs need more from their secondary creators. Dylan Harper made history. And the most accomplished Finals franchise in modern NBA history just lost a Game 1 for the first time ever. Game 2 is tonight. If you want more breakdowns as the series goes on, subscribe to Rim Logic. New videos every Monday and Friday. Appreciate you watching. I'll catch you next time.